Would you confront your sister and husband if you discovered they've been having an affair for 2 years right under your nose? The manila envelope was thicker than I expected. Heavy. The kind of weight that tells you your life is about to change before you even open it. I was sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot when the private investigator handed it to me through the window. Tuesday afternoon, 3:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I kept staring at my dashboard clock, thinking about how normal the day had been up until that moment. Dropped the kids at school, did laundry, planned dinner, went grocery shopping. Normal. Completely, painfully normal. Mrs. Patterson, the investigator had said, Daniel Chen, mid-40s, the kind face that didn't match what he did for a living. Are you sure you want to see this now? Maybe wait until you're home. Maybe have someone with you. Just give it to me. He'd hesitated, then handed over the envelope. I'm sorry, I really am. Call me if you need anything. I'd waited until he drove away before opening it, hands shaking so badly I could barely get the clasp undone. Inside, photos. Dozens of photos, time-stamped, dated, meticulously organized with printed notes explaining context. The first photo was my husband, Michael, leaving his office building. Normal, expected. That's where he worked. The second photo was Michael getting into his car. Still normal. The third photo was Michael pulling into a driveway I recognized immediately because I'd been to that house hundreds of times, because my nieces lived there, because it was my sister's house. My sister, Emma, 2 years younger than me, my maid of honor at my wedding, godmother to my oldest daughter, the person I talked to every single day, the person I trusted with everything. The photos continued. Michael walking up to Emma's front door at 2:15 p.m. on a Thursday. Michael's car parked in Emma's driveway at 11:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. Michael leaving Emma's house at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, adjusting his shirt. Different days, different weeks, going back months according to the timestamps. Then the photos that made my hands stop shaking and go completely numb. Michael and Emma in her kitchen, visible through the window, standing close, too close. Michael and Emma on her back patio, his hand on her waist. Michael and Emma kissing in their doorway. Michael and Emma in their bedroom window. No details, just silhouettes, but enough, more than enough. The investigator's notes were clinical, professional. Subject observed visiting location 3 to 4 times per week. Typical duration 2 to 4 hours. Pattern consistent over 8-week observation period. Based on neighbor interviews, visits have been occurring for approximately 2 years. 2 years. I'd hired the PI 6 weeks ago because something felt off. Michael had been distant, distracted, always on his phone, going to the gym more. All the classic signs that articles and Reddit posts warned you about. But I'd never suspected Emma, never even considered it. Because who suspects their sister? Who imagines that the person you grew up with, shared secrets with, trusted completely, would do something like this? I'd sat in that parking lot for maybe 20 minutes, just staring at the photos. My groceries were melting in the trunk. I didn't care. Couldn't care. My entire reality was reshaping itself around these images. Every family dinner where Emma and Michael had sat across from each other, making normal conversation. Every text from Emma asking how Michael was doing, how our marriage was. Every time she'd babysat our kids so Michael and I could have date night. Every birthday party, every holiday, every casual Tuesday when she'd stop by for coffee. All of it recontextualized, all of it poisoned. The affair had been happening in parallel to our normal family life. While I was making dinner for my husband, he was texting my sister. While I was taking our daughters to soccer practice, he was at Emma's house. While Emma was asking me for marriage advice about her ex-boyfriend, she was sleeping with my husband. I'd called my best friend, Rachel. Not Emma. I always called Emma first when something happened, but obviously I couldn't do that anymore. Rachel had answered on the second ring. Hey, are you okay? You sound weird. Can I come to your house? I need to show you something. I can't go home right now. Of course. Are you safe? Are the kids okay? The kids are fine. They're at school. I need to not be alone right now. I drove to Rachel's house on autopilot, walked in, handed her the envelope without saying anything. I'd watched her face change as she looked through the photos, watched her go from confused to shocked to furious in the space of about 30 seconds. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, that's Emma. That's your sister." "I know. For 2 years?" "According to the investigator, maybe longer. He only went back as far as the neighbors could confirm." The investigator's notes were clinical, professional. Subject observed visiting location 3 to 4 times per week. Typical duration 2 to 4 hours. Pattern consistent over 8-week observation period. Based on neighbor interviews, visits have been occurring for approximately 2 years. 2 years. I'd hired the PI 6 weeks ago because something felt off. Michael had been distant, distracted, always on his phone, going to the gym more. All the classic signs that articles and Reddit posts warned you about. But I'd never suspected Emma, never even considered it, because who suspects their sister? Who imagines that the person you grew up with, shared secrets with, trusted completely, would do something like this? I'd sat in that parking lot for maybe 20 minutes, just staring at the photos. My groceries were melting in the trunk. I didn't care, couldn't care. My entire reality was reshaping itself around these images. Every family dinner where Emma and Michael had sat across from each other, making normal conversation. Every text from Emma asking how Michael was doing, how our marriage was. Every time she'd babysat our kids so Michael and I could have date night. Every birthday party, every holiday, every casual Tuesday when she'd stop by for coffee. All of it recontextualized. All of it poisoned. The affair had been happening in parallel to our normal family life. While I was making dinner for my husband, he was texting my sister. While I was taking our daughters to soccer practice, he was at Emma's house. While Emma was asking me for marriage advice about her ex-boyfriend, she was sleeping with my husband. I'd called my best friend Rachel, not Emma. I always called Emma first when something happened, but obviously I couldn't do that anymore. Rachel had answered on the second ring. "Hey, are you okay? You sound weird. Can I come to your house? I need to show you something. I can't go home right now." "Of course. Are you safe? Are the kids okay?" "The kids are fine. They're at school. I need to not be alone right now." I drove to Rachel's house on autopilot, walked in, handed her the envelope without saying anything. I'd watched her face change as she looked through the photos, watched her go from confused to shocked to furious in the space of about 30 seconds. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, that's Emma. That's your sister." "I know. For 2 years?" "According to the investigator, maybe longer. He only went back as far as the neighbors could confirm." The investigator's notes were clinical, professional. Subject observed visiting location 3 to 4 times per week. Typical duration 2 to 4 hours. Pattern consistent over 8-week observation period. Based on neighbor interviews, visits have been occurring for approximately 2 years. 2 years. I'd hired the PI 6 weeks ago because something felt off. Michael had been distant, distracted, always on his phone, going to the gym more. All the classic signs that articles and Reddit posts warned you about. But I'd never suspected Emma, never even considered it, because who suspects their sister? Who imagines that the person you grew up with, shared secrets with, trusted completely, would do something like this? I'd sat in that parking lot for maybe 20 minutes, just staring at the photos. My groceries were melting in the trunk. I didn't care, couldn't care. My entire reality was reshaping itself around these images. Every family dinner where Emma and Michael had sat across from each other, making normal conversation. Every text from Emma asking how Michael was doing, how our marriage was. Every time she'd babysat our kids so Michael and I could have date night. Every birthday party, every holiday, every casual Tuesday when she'd stop by for coffee. All of it recontextualized. All of it poisoned.
The affair had been happening in parallel to our normal family life. While I was making dinner for my husband, he was texting my sister. While I was taking our daughters to soccer practice, he was at Emma's house. While Emma was asking me for marriage advice about her ex-boyfriend, she was sleeping with my husband. I'd called my best friend Rachel, not Emma. I always called Emma first when something happened, but obviously I couldn't do that anymore. Rachel had answered on the second ring. "Hey, are you okay? You sound weird. Can I come to your house? I need to show you something. I can't go home right now." "Of course. Are you safe? Are the kids okay?" "The kids are fine. They're at school. I need to not be alone right now." I drove to Rachel's house on autopilot, walked in, handed her the envelope without saying anything.
The divorce lawyer's office was exactly what you'd expect. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, framed degrees on the wall. Susan Hendricks, 50s, sharp eyes, the kind of woman who'd seen every variation of marital disaster and couldn't be shocked anymore. "Walk me through what you know," she'd said, after I'd handed her copies of the Investigator's report. I'd told her everything. The suspicions, the PI, the photos, the 2 years, the fact that it was my sister. She'd taken notes without visible reaction. When I'd finished, she'd looked up. "Do you want to save the marriage?" "No." "Are you sure? Because if there's any chance you want to try couples therapy, he's been sleeping with my sister for 2 years. There's no coming back from that." "Okay, then here's what we're going to do. Colorado is a no-fault divorce state, so the affair itself won't impact the divorce proceedings, but we can use it to negotiate. He's not going to want these photos public. He's not going to want his family, his friends, his co-workers knowing he had an affair with his wife's sister. We can leverage that." "I don't want to leverage it. I want him to hurt the way I'm hurting." "I understand, but my job is to protect your interests and your children's interests. That means getting you the best possible settlement. The house, primary custody, child support, alimony if applicable. We use every advantage we have." She'd been right. I'd known she was right. But it had felt wrong to turn my pain into a negotiating tactic. "What about my sister?" I'd asked. "Can I sue her? Alienation of affection or something?" Colorado abolished alienation of affection claims in 1988. You can't sue her for the affair, but you can absolutely cut her out of your life, and depending on how involved she is with your children, you can limit her access to them. The thought of Emma not seeing my daughters had made my chest tight, because the girls loved their aunt, loved spending time with her. They didn't know she'd betrayed their mother. They just knew Aunt Emma was fun and loving and always had time for them. How do you explain to a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old why they can't see their aunt anymore? How do you protect them from the truth without lying to them? Susan had walked me through the divorce process: filing, serving papers, negotiations, custody arrangements, asset division. The timeline of how my marriage would end in legal proceedings and paperwork. "When do you want to confront him?" she'd asked. "I don't know. Part of me wants to do it now. Part of me wants to wait until all the paperwork is ready so he can't prepare." My advice? Get your ducks in a row first. Secure finances, make copies of important documents, open your own bank account if you don't have one. Talk to the kids' school about the situation so they're prepared. Then confront him when you're ready, not when you're emotional. I'd left her office with a plan and a timeline. 2 weeks to prepare, then I'd confront them both. Those 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. I'd had to continue pretending everything was normal, continue sleeping next to Michael, continue taking Emma's phone calls, continue playing happy family while knowing it was all built on lies.
Emma had called me the day after I'd seen the lawyer. "Hey, want to grab coffee this afternoon? I'm free if you are." "Can't, I've got errands." "Tomorrow?" "I'm pretty busy this week. I'll text you." "Is everything okay? You sound weird." The audacity, the fucking audacity of her asking if everything was okay while she was sleeping with my husband. "Everything's fine, just stressed. Talk later." I'd hung up before she could ask more questions. Michael had noticed I was being distant. "Are you mad at me about something?" he'd asked one night. "No, why?" "You just seem off, like you're pulling away." I wanted to scream at him, wanted to throw the photos in his face, wanted to ask how he could be so oblivious to the consequences of his own actions. Instead, I'd said, "I'm fine, just tired." He'd accepted that, because he wanted to accept it, because acknowledging something was wrong would mean having to address it, and he clearly didn't want to do that. I'd spent those 2 weeks documenting everything, screenshotting texts between Michael and Emma that I'd found on our phone plan account, copying financial records, making lists of shared assets, photographing the house and our belongings, building an evidence file that would protect me in the divorce. I'd also spent those 2 weeks telling people, not everyone, just the people who needed to know. My parents, Michael's parents, our close friends. Rachel helped me plan it out, who to tell, when to tell them, how much to share. My parents had been devastated. My dad had actually cried. "Both of them?" he kept saying. "How could both of them do this to you?" My mom wanted to confront Emma immediately. I had to physically stop her from driving to Emma's house. "Not yet," I'd said. "I need to do this on my terms, when I'm ready." Michael's parents were shocked but supportive of me. "Whatever you need," his mother said. "We love you. We love the girls. Michael's choices don't change that." The friends were split. Some had known something was off. Some had suspected. None had known it was Emma. "I saw them at a restaurant once," one friend had admitted. "About 6 months ago. They were having lunch. It seemed weird, but I figured they were just, I don't know, planning a surprise for you or something. I'm so sorry. I should have said something." Everyone should have said something. Everyone should have noticed, but they hadn't, because Emma and Michael had been careful. They'd been smart about it. They'd maintained the illusion of normalcy so well that even people actively looking for signs had missed them. 2 weeks after seeing the lawyer, I was ready. I'd moved money into my own account, I'd secured copies of everything important, I'd talked to the kids' school about the situation so they're prepared, then prepared myself emotionally as much as anyone can prepare for blowing up their entire life. The plan was simple. Friday night. Tell Michael I knew, have the papers ready to serve him, record the conversation for evidence, stay calm, don't let him manipulate me. Then Saturday, confront Emma, get my closure, cut her out of my life completely. Friday morning, I dropped the kids at school and came home to an empty house. Michael was at work, or at Emma's. I didn't know anymore and didn't care. I'd spent the day preparing. Called Rachel to confirm she'd be available for support, called my lawyer to confirm the papers were ready, called my mom to confirm she'd take the kids for the weekend so they wouldn't be present for the confrontation. Everything was ready. Then, at 2:30 p.m., my doorbell rang. I'd opened it to find Emma standing there, smiling, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Surprise," she said. "I know you've been stressed lately, so I brought flowers and I'm taking you out for a sister day. We're getting pedicures and wine, and you're gonna tell me what's going on." I stared at her, at my sister, at the person who'd betrayed me more completely than anyone in my life, standing on my doorstep with flowers and a smile, acting like she gave a shit about my well-being. Something had snapped. "Come inside," I said. "We need to talk."
Emma had followed me into the living room,
still holding the flowers, her smile starting to fade as she read my expression. "Okay, you're scaring me," she'd said. "What's wrong?" I'd picked up the manila envelope from where I'd hidden it in the side table, held it for a moment. This was it. The moment everything became real. The moment I couldn't take back. "How long have you been sleeping with Michael?" The color had drained from her face. The flowers had slipped from her hands, falling onto my carpet in a scatter of petals. "What?" Don't you dare lie to me right now. I hired a private investigator. I have photos, timestamps, witness statements. I know everything. So I'm asking you one time, how long have you been sleeping with my husband? She'd sat down heavily on my couch. The same couch where we'd watched movies together as kids, where she'd cried on my shoulder after bad breakups, where she'd held my babies when they were newborns. I don't know what... I dumped the photos on the coffee table, spread them out, watched her face as she saw herself in those images, watched the denial die in her eyes. 2 years, I'd said when she didn't answer. According to the investigator, maybe longer. Want to tell me when it actually started, or should I keep guessing? She'd started crying. Not the kind of crying that comes from guilt or remorse, the kind of crying that comes from being caught. "I'm sorry," she'd gasped. "I'm so sorry. It just happened. We didn't mean for it to happen." It just happened. For 2 years. It just happened multiple times a week. It just happened while you were asking me for marriage advice and babysitting my children and pretending to be my sister. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me, Emma. Make me understand how you justified this. She'd wiped her eyes, smearing mascara across her cheeks. "It started after my breakup with Tyler. I was devastated. You and Michael invited me over for dinner to cheer me up. You went to bed early because you were tired. Michael and I stayed up talking. He was so kind, so understanding. We had wine and we just connected." "You connected with my husband. I know how it sounds. Do you? Do you really? Because it sounds like you decided my husband was available for you to connect with the moment I left the room. It wasn't like that. We talked for hours about life, about relationships, about everything, and I realized we had so much in common, more than I'd ever realized. So you decided to sleep with him. It didn't happen that night. It was weeks later. We'd been texting, just as friends. He was helping me through the breakup. And then one day I was at your house and you had to leave to pick up the kids, and we were alone and you fucked my husband in my house." She flinched. "It wasn't like that." "What was it like? Paint me a picture, Emma. Help me understand." "It was a kiss. Just a kiss. And we both felt terrible. We agreed it could never happen again." "But it did happen again." "Yes, because we couldn't stop thinking about each other. Because there was this connection that we couldn't ignore." I laughed, actually laughed, a harsh, ugly sound that made Emma flinch again. A connection. You're calling an affair a connection. Here's what I call it: betrayal, selfishness, the complete destruction of every relationship you claimed to value. You destroyed my marriage. You destroyed our sisterhood. You destroyed my children's family. For a connection. I love him. Those 3 words had hit me like a physical blow, stolen the breath from my lungs. Because an affair was one thing, a mistake, a moment of weakness, even an extended period of bad choices. Those were things I could maybe eventually process. But love? Love meant this wasn't just about sex or opportunity. Love meant she'd chosen him over me, actively, deliberately, with full knowledge of what she was destroying. "You love him?" I repeated. "My husband. You love my husband?" "I didn't mean for it to happen." "But it did. And you kept choosing it. Every day for 2 years, you woke up and chose to continue betraying me. Every family dinner, every text message, every time you looked me in the eye and lied, you chose that. What about what you chose? I stared at her. What? You chose to put your career first. You chose to be too tired for him. You chose to stop making your marriage a priority. You created the space for this to happen. The victim blaming was so audacious, so perfectly executed, that I'd actually been stunned silent for a moment. Are you seriously blaming me for your affair with my husband? It's saying relationships are complicated. It's saying you and Michael had problems before I came into the picture. It's saying maybe if you'd been paying attention to your husband, he wouldn't have needed to find connection elsewhere. Get out. We need to talk about this. Get out of my house. She'd stood, grabbing her purse, still tears streaming down her face. You're going to regret this. When you calm down, you're going to realize that this isn't all your fault. The only thing I regret is trusting you. The only thing I regret is believing that my sister wouldn't stab me in the back the first chance she got. The only thing I regret is wasting years of my life on a relationship with someone who doesn't understand the meaning of loyalty or love or basic human decency. I'm still your sister. No, you're not. You stopped being my sister the moment you decided my husband was more important than our relationship. You're a stranger who happens to share my DNA, and I never want to see you again. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my entire life. Get out. She'd left, still crying, still trying to justify, still convinced that somehow this wasn't entirely her fault. I'd locked the door behind her and collapsed on my floor, finally letting myself break down, finally letting myself feel the full weight of the betrayal. My sister, my baby sister who I protected and defended and loved unconditionally, who destroyed my life and then tried to blame me for it. I called Rachel, still sitting on the floor, barely able to speak through the sobs. She said she loves him. She said it's my fault for not paying attention to my marriage. She said I created space for this to happen. She's deflecting. It's classic affair logic. Don't listen to her. What if she's right? What if I did push him away? Even if your marriage had problems, which happens in every marriage, that doesn't justify cheating. And it definitely doesn't justify cheating with your wife's sister for 2 years. Emma made her choices. Michael made his choices. Neither of those choices are your fault. I'd stayed on the floor for probably an hour, just crying and talking to Rachel, trying to process what had just happened. Then I'd pulled myself together, washed my face, fixed my makeup, because I still had one more confrontation to get through. Michael was coming home in 3 hours, and he was going to get the same treatment Emma got, except worse. Because at least Emma had the decency to show some emotion, even if it was self-serving. Michael had been lying to my face every day with a smile, and I was done being lied to.
Michael had come home at 6:45 p.m., 15 minutes late, which probably meant he'd been at Emma's. He'd walked in with his usual greeting, "Hey babe, I'm home," and stopped when he saw me sitting at the kitchen table. Not cooking, not doing homework with the kids, not doing any of the normal Friday evening activities. "Sit down, we need to talk." "About what?" "Sit down." He'd sat, eyes darting between me and the envelope, clearly trying to figure out what was happening. I'd slid the photos across the table, watched his face as he recognized Emma's house, watched the realization dawn, watched him try to formulate an excuse. I can explain. How long? It's not what it looks like. How long? 2 years. About 2 years. But it's not stop. Stop talking. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear explanations.
I just want you to acknowledge what you did. 2 years. You've been having an affair with my sister for 2 years. I didn't mean for it to happen. That's what Emma said. That's what cheaters always say. But you know what? Affairs don't just happen. They're a series of choices. You chose to start texting her. You chose to meet her alone. You chose to kiss her. You chose to sleep with her. You chose to continue sleeping with her for 2 years. Those were all choices, Michael. Active, deliberate choices. I know, you're right. I'm sorry. Sorry, you're sorry. Well, that fixes everything, doesn't it? Your sorry completely erases 2 years of lies and betrayal. What do you want me to say? I want you to explain how you looked me in the eye every single day and lied. How you sat at family dinners with Emma and me and our children and acted normal. How you slept in our bed and made love to me and said you loved me while sleeping with my sister. I do love you. You have a fucked up definition of love. I love both of you. I know that sounds impossible, but it's true. I love you and I love her, and I've been torn apart trying to figure out what to do. Oh, poor you, so torn apart, so conflicted. Meanwhile, I'm the idiot who trusted you, who believed you when you said you were working late, who never suspected my own sister would do this. It wasn't supposed to go on this long. We tried to end it multiple times, but we kept coming back to each other. Were you ever going to tell me, or were you just going to keep both of us forever? He'd been quiet for a long time. Then, I don't know, I couldn't figure out how to tell you without destroying everything. Well, congratulations, you destroyed everything anyway. I'd pulled out the divorce papers, slid them across the table. What's this? Divorce papers. I filed this morning. You're being served on Monday, but I wanted you to see them first. Wanted you to understand that this marriage is over. Don't you think we should try to work through this? Couples therapy or... You slept with my sister for 2 years. There's no working through that. People recover from affairs. It happens. If we both commit to... I don't want to commit to anything with you except ending this marriage as quickly as possible. I want the house, I want primary custody, I want child support and spousal support. And in exchange for you agreeing to all of that, I won't make the affair public. I won't tell your family, your friends, your coworkers that you've been fucking your wife's sister. His face had gone hard. That's blackmail. No, that's negotiation. Your lawyer will explain the difference. You sign these papers, agree to my terms, and this stays between us. You fight me, and everyone knows. Your choice. This isn't fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Was it fair to lie to me for 2 years? Was it fair to let me trust my sister? Was it fair to risk our children's stability for your affair? The kids don't need to know about this. The kids are going to know that their parents are getting divorced. They're going to know that sometimes people who promise to love each other don't keep those promises. What they don't need to know is the specific details of why. But that depends on you. You make this easy, we keep it simple. You make this hard, and I stop protecting you. I need time to think about this. You have until Monday. After that, my lawyer files everything, and the clock starts ticking. Choose wisely. He'd stood up, still holding the divorce papers, looking lost. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Emma's house, a hotel, your parents, not my problem anymore. Can we at least talk about this more? Can we? No, there's nothing left to talk about. You made your choices. Now live with them. He'd packed a bag, taken some clothes, his laptop, his toiletries, moved like he was in a daze. At the door, he turned back. I really do love you. I know you don't believe me, but I do. If this is what your love looks like, I don't want it. He left. I locked the door behind him and stood there in my empty house, feeling the weight of the silence. It was over. My marriage, my relationship with my sister, the life I'd built, all of it over. But I was still standing, hurt, betrayed, devastated, but standing. That weekend was surreal. The kids stayed with my mom. I stayed home alone, processing everything. Rachel came over.
My parents came over. Michael's parents called to apologize and offer support. Emma tried to call 14 times. I didn't answer. She left voicemails alternating between apologies and anger. I deleted them all without listening completely. Michael texted asking if we could talk. I didn't respond. By Monday, I was ready to move forward with the divorce, ready to start rebuilding, ready to figure out who I was without a husband and without a sister. The divorce took 4 months. Michael signed everything I asked for without fighting, took the deal to keep the affair quiet. We split custody 70-30 in my favor. I got the house, I got spousal support for 5 years, I got everything I needed to rebuild my life. Emma tried to reach out multiple times during those 4 months. Texts, emails, letters, showing up at my house. I ignored it all. Eventually, she stopped trying. I heard through family that she and Michael dated for a few months after the divorce was finalized, then broke up. Apparently, the guilt and the judgment from everyone who eventually found out was too much. Or maybe they realized they only worked as an illicit affair, not as a real relationship. I didn't care either way. It's been a year now, a year since I opened that Manila envelope and my life imploded. The kids are adjusting. They see Michael on his scheduled weekends. They ask about Emma sometimes. I tell them that sometimes adults make choices that hurt the people around them, and sometimes relationships end because of those choices. They don't need the details. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I've been in therapy, processing the betrayal, learning to trust again, figuring out who I am as a single person instead of someone's wife or someone's sister. I've started dating. Nothing serious. Just learning that not everyone lies, not everyone betrays, not everyone will destroy your life for their own gratification. My relationship with my parents are complicated now. They love Emma too. She's their daughter. They're torn between supporting me and wanting to maintain a relationship with her. I understand, but it still hurts when they mention her, when they slip up and tell me about her life. I don't ask about her, don't want to know. She's a stranger to me now, a person I used to know who made choices that removed her from my life. Michael tries to be cordial when we do custody exchanges. I keep it brief and businesslike. We're co-parents now, nothing more. Sometimes I wonder if I handled it right, if I should have tried therapy with Michael, if I should have forgiven Emma, if I should have chosen differently. But then I remember those photos, remember the lies, remember sitting across from both of them at family dinners while they maintained their affair, remember how they blamed me for their choices, and I know I made the right decision. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive. Some relationships can't be repaired. Sometimes the only healthy choice is to walk away and rebuild from scratch. Would I confront my sister and husband if I discovered they'd been having an affair for 2 years right under my nose? I did, and I'd do it again, because I deserve better than people who treat my trust like it's disposable. Because my daughters deserve to see their mother stand up for herself, because some lines once crossed can never be uncrossed. The truth destroyed my family, but living in lies would have destroyed me. And I'm still here. Hurt, yes. Changed, absolutely. But still standing, still moving forward, still building a life that's honest and real and mine. That's enough.